How's it going, guys? Jay here from Just Technics. Hope you're all doing well. So we're on Saturday afternoon and I've just finished a repair on another pair of Technics 1210s, and I thought let's pick another pair out to start stripping down today so I can crack on with them on Monday. And this is deck number 1 of 2. They belong to my good friend customer Matt. He's a returning customer. This is his pair of M3Ds, 1210 M3Ds. This is deck number 1 of 2. And there's a reason why I've popped this on a video. Now, I wasn't going to. I was just going to tear into this and get as much as I can done today, as I normally would. But I spotted something. If you look carefully here, you'll see a sticker underneath. Now, I took the platter off, and I've already painted out the name of the company. I've never heard of them before. But I painted it out, including their logo. But what's made me want to hit record on this video and start a video on this in the first place is the fact that this was actually apparently repaired on the 23rd of May this year. It's brought into me along with the other turntable for a service and a repair when the repair work has apparently been completed already this year. A little bit worrying, but I thought, you know what, we'll hit record and see what we're dealing with. There's a couple of things that jumped out on me straight away with this turntable. One was the recessed on-off switch. You can see here it's not sitting central and flush, and you can actually move the switch. It's very loose before you hit the point where the switch engages. And there's also like a, you can hear it. It's 2 points. So this switch or plastic cap more than likely needs to be replaced. But why this wasn't done, you tell me. Not a good start if this has already apparently been repaired. The second thing, which always screams alarm bells, which I know the reason for this, but look at this. You ready to hear this? So I take it the rubber surround or rubber dampener has obviously come loose, or they've just not put it on at all, but that is extremely loose. And what can happen there is with the rubber dampener removed, the entire assembly from the pop-up, once it springs up, the enclosure where the wires come out, will obviously crimp into the cables, short them, and cause you dramas. You do not want to be messing around with anything, if you don't know what you're doing, with the pop-up assembly. That is really bad. So there's two things straight out the bat, and the fact that this has already been repaired is not good, and the light doesn't work either. So let's get this taken apart. So like I say, platter off, we'll get this out of the way. Repaired in 23rd of May of this year. I'd like to know what's been done. So I'm going to avoid whatever warranty is included with this. And in fact, what in the hell is going on with that? That is a bit interesting, Jay. There we go, right. Let's get these screws undone. Let's now use the, as long as the battery's okay. And why is there an LED attached to that? there was a pitch LED attached to that. Must have been attached to the bin. You have to excuse the really lovely top I've got at the moment. It is rather cold today. If you're in the UK, you'll appreciate that the weather is starting to take a turn for the worse now. We're getting to the point that give it another week or so and we're probably going to end up having snow or something here. It's not very nice, and it's starting to really show that the weather is changing. So anyway, right, plastic cover. Let's remove this now and see what we're dealing with. So plastic cover out the way. We can see that the LED, oh, actually, do you know what? Before I even start looking at the wiring, look at this. So this is a plastic cover that stops anything from if anyone's spilt on the turntable. It basically just protects the fuse board. It stops anything from seeping onto the board. But we're going to take that out of the equation because that's actually broken anyway. I don't even know why they bothered taping that together, but you can see it quite clearly here. This section's broken. And instead of just removing this and explaining it to the customer, they've just taped it through and put it back into place. Not impressed with that either. Straight in the bin with that. Okay, so I was looking at the wiring here for the pop-up, but we're going to exclude that for a second. So the fuse, T250 milliamp, that's been replaced at some point. It's just the original power cable. That hasn't been desoldered. That's all original, so at least this hasn't been touched. trying to do this without getting in the way of the camera. Luckily, I've angled this in such a way that you shouldn't see me at all, apart from my beautiful black gloves. So the windings going to the fuse board, none of this has been touched. Again, this is good. So this entire area here hasn't been taken out of the turntable. I can tell you what has been replaced for repair. They must have had an issue here with power at some point. If I zoom the camera, you might just make this out. Let's get my tool. I can't really zoom this in anymore, or angle the turntable really. But what you have here is Q2 and Q3. Tiny little transistors. This one's been replaced. Now if I angle this upwards, you'll be able to see this better. There we go. Can you see it? You see Q3, how small that transistor is? Q2 has obviously been replaced with one that's the same specification, it's just a larger size, and they've bent it round to make it fit. So that's obviously what's been replaced there. So moving forward from this, let's just scan this camera back out again. Pan the camera back out, I should say. Lovely. Okay. So Q2's been replaced. So repair work has been completed at some point with this turntable. This is all original. Bridge rectifier's original. Original caps. Haven't even bent any of these back up. How bad. I make sure that all of these are uniform, even if you're changing them. It takes all of 2 seconds just to make sure things are all parallel and neutral. Just laziness. Actually, this looks to have been changed. I could be wrong, but C3 looks like it's been changed. D301, which is a Zener diode, that's original. This D1, that's original as well. You see, I would have changed that. And to be fair, if Q2's gone, I would have changed Q3 for safety anyway. Get both of them changed over. I don't understand why they've bent the angle. I understand because it's a lot bigger, but they could have actually pushed that through a lot further and had this component sitting flush. So I'm not too impressed with that, but if it works and it's done the job that the customer's brought it in for, then you can't really start moaning at things like this. But the truth is, if it works, but there are certain things that you do and don't do. Who's calling me? Bear with me just for a second, guys. My thing's going, bear with me. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know if you could hear that in the background or not, but my Facebook was ringing. My brother, bless him, was trying to call me. So I had to send him over a message and say, sorry, mate, I'm in the middle of doing a video. Where were we? Okay, so yes, with the Q2 and the Q3 transistors, if you're changing one of them over, realistically, I would have changed the other one as well. Q2, Q3, and the Zener diode while you're at it at the same time. I'll also be checking the regulator at the top of the board too. That doesn't appear to have had any new thermal paste installed or anything on there either, which I don't quite get why not. Surely if you're going to this extent, you would be checking the basics. But either way, let's do my usual. Let's get the plastic ties out the way. Some of these you can just literally bend them out the way and pull them through and forward. Okay, nice sharp pair of snips. Being extremely careful. Lovely stuff. That's one gone. Try this again. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's nice to bend the inner section of the tie and pull it forward. Because if anything, like this for an example, that one there has loosened. Sometimes you can physically remove the tie and then bin it. Sometimes you can pull it forward to an extent that, you know, you can pull it forward and then loosen the tie. So the idea around this, my thinking around this, is if you loosen it so you got it like this, you've got more room to push it forward and cut through the plastic and basically there's no risk in cutting into the wire unless you're extremely heavy-handed. Now, I don't understand this one at all. We've got a cable tie on here doing absolutely nothing. It's me playing around with that. It's not even attached to anything. That's where your lamp really should be going to. But again, This is all going to be sorted. That goes straight in the bin as well. This tool again is very handy for me because I can use this to carefully push the corners that lock in the operation base, the pitch and the pop-up area. Also checking to make sure that there's no breaks or loose movements in the corners of these. And the connectors themselves, that one seems okay. Pitch control. Lovely. Nothing's loose there. This beautiful little wire that's been dangled around here is for the lamp. So again, we'll be very careful with pushing, just push the corner. That one's not wanting to push through very easily. What about the other side? That's a bit interesting. Okay, let's try another way of doing this. That cable's rather tight there. It could be why it's not coming out. Let's try and pull that round. There we go. It's got a bit of looseness now for the cable. Try and straighten the wiring up for the connectors and try this again. That's better. Excellent. We've got no looseness on the connectors at all, because if these break, then obviously the connector's going to fall out at any point and you're going to end up in a world of pain in the nice possible way. Power cable's all going to be removed. This is all going to be reused. So what I'm going to do here is simply just snip the cable tie, being gentle, pull that forward, tie goes in the bin. We'll cut the cable as close as possible to the rails here, to the terminals, and get that out of the way. Then I can desolder the remaining wire that's onto the two terminals. This can stay in place for the time being. We'll just remove this power cable. Also makes life easy when we're turning the turntable upside down. There we go. These can go in my little storage bit. Push this through, get this out of the way. At the same time being careful that you don't see me on the camera. Lovely. Let's tie that round. So as you can see now, we've got one power cable. Just get that out of the way for the time being, because we don't need that. One of my other workbenches. Get these in such a way that we can, not going to be in the way to move things out of the way. We'll bend these cables through here so it's nice and straight and easy to pull the cable through. Next step is to get this turntable turned upside down. So give me a second, we'll pause the camera, get my support out, and let's get this undone. Okay, right, so the next step, let's get the feet removed. Nice and simple, anti-clockwise. 1, 2, 3 and 4. We've got a missing screw. These all appear okay. Operation base screw, standard, loose. That's obviously snapped then when they've tried to take that off. Oh, they've either over tightened it or they've been too heavy handed trying to remove it. But we've got one missing screw and obviously a broken thread there for the operation base. There is nothing you can do with that unless you're going to rebuild that area with plastic and epoxy the remaining parts, if there are any, back together, and then being extremely gentle when threading it through. Either that or buying a replacement operation base around, which, as you all know, is not the easiest thing to get unless you're going to start scouring the web to find the part. So let's get these undone. So we're okay to use an electric screwdriver to remove these screws now, because the worst out of all of them is that corner. If anything starts to feel tight or as if it's not willing to come out, that will just lifts out, as you can see, look, because it's obviously broken the thread. If anything doesn't feel like it's willing to be removed, the last thing you want to do is keep going with this. If you start using a tight, there you go, that's fine. If anything feels like it's too tight, then stop and use a screwdriver. Do it by hand. I've done so many of these over the years that, let's do the outside screws first, Jay. Done so many of these over the years that I've got a good feeling as to what needs to be removed by hand or not. But yeah, anybody that is stripping these down, do not use an electric screwdriver on the corner where your operation base is. It is the worst thing you can do. Because if you snap that, there is not a lot you can really do to remedy it unless you're going to replace the part. Hopefully we've got enough charge in this to remove all these screws because I wasn't planning on doing a video today, I'll be honest with you. There we go. Right. Let's see if we're cooking with gas, guys, shall we? So we've got 2, 4, they're out. 2, 3, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's correct. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brilliant, that's everything removed. Next step, let's get this base off. There shouldn't be any warranty stickers here, I'd imagine, because there was on the plastic cover. Let's get this, might shake the camera slightly. Just to show everybody again, trying to hide the sticker on here, just to prove that I'm not lying to everybody. Look. This was serviced or repaired on the 23rd of May 25, so this year. Not long ago, really. I know we're in November now, but that's still this year. No excuse why this should be coming into us for repair now. Oh my God. Well, this answers a lot of questions. Oh my God. Right, I'm going to move this across slightly and I'm going to pan this in. I don't know whether I'm impressed with this or disgusted, to be fair. As you can all see, straight off the bat, we haven't just got a problem here with the thread. This is a first for me. I have never seen anybody bodge repair a strobe tower using a paperclip. And this is repaired by a company. I'm going to get photographs of all of this. Once this is done, photographs of all this. I don't care. Do you know what really winds me up with this, right, guys? And I think you'll all agree with me here. You're paying somebody good money. I don't know how much it would have cost the repair, but I'd imagine they're charging an hourly labour fee. Not everyone does things for free to help out or anything. Because components like that, transistor, they're not exactly expensive. They're cheap. It's just finding the issue. But warranty or not, and voiding it if you remove the cover or not, this isn't acceptable because you can pretty much guarantee that this wasn't like this when they dropped it off. No chance. Most people I see that do repairs like this just leave it how it is and don't bother doing something like this. I mean, the reason that paperclip is there is because the operation base, you can see it loosely here. It is broken. If I move the lamp across here, the actual plastic assembly is broken. So the cantilever hits the paperclip. What a bodge. To make it even funnier, I mean, you can see they've also had to bend the lever on the cantilever on the actual switch itself so that it hits that, because it should be a lot. Oh God, that is terrible. That is terrible. Let's get, okay, one thing at a time, Jay. Zoom the camera back out. That's a bit better. We've got a more surround this so you can see exactly what we're doing. First what I'm going to do now is cut this cable off because we're not going to use this cable. Putting some new cables on anyway. So we're going to cut the audio cable off of this one. Okay. That's baffled me a bit, that. I've never seen a paperclip be used for a repair / bodge in the last, I don't know how many years, 10? Never seen one. There's the cable. In a pile to go back with the customer's bits. Let's just make sure that these screws here are nice and tight. Actually, what we'll also do, because that one's not sitting straight, there we go. That's better. Low torque setting, if you're all wondering with this. Nothing exciting. You don't need anything that's overly powerful to do this. What I've just done there, these plates that you see here, it's really common on all of these turntables. They can come loose. Now these didn't feel loose, but you could see it did actually drive the screws down just a little bit more. It also means that you can straighten up the plates. But what you tend to find with like the Mark IIs, for an example, where you have the sockets on these, if you find that your dust cover starts to droop down or won't stay up, and you look at the back of the sockets themselves where the dust cover hinges connect into the sockets. If you start to move your dust cover, open it or close it, and you see, or you start to find that the sockets are physically moving, this is 9 times out of 10 what causes the problem. If it's not that, it means that the thread's gone underneath and you need to replace the screws and the plates. So yeah, tighten them up. That solves that problem usually. So I've just tightened them up because that's one less thing to worry about there. We're now going to remove the surrounding screws, which hold on the weighted section. The reason I cut the cable off is to make things a little bit easier when you're obviously moving around the arm, because we're not going to be using these audio cables on either of the 2 turntables. So it's pointless still having them connected if we're going to desolder them. I'll just cut them off, you know, get rid of them completely. That's them there. And I'll lift this out the way. See, there's not really much to these turntables when you start stripping them down. So now we have here the head shell holder, which will come with the M3Ds and the Mark 5s. Simply just one screw, there's your plastic holder. So I'll pop that out the way, and that's now done. But we're actually also going to quickly check over some of the basic bits on here before I start taking this out. So we've already checked over the operation base and spotted here that somebody's decided to bodge fix the switch. That's why the switch is loose, because it's physically broken. We've then got, which I'm going to zoom into here, which you'll all see in just a second, is this. You know I said about the rubber surround was obviously missing or loose? Well, there it is. They haven't removed any of the old adhesive. They haven't attempted to try and glue that back on. They've simply just left it. And also the wire isn't working. Sorry, the lamp isn't working either. And I wouldn't be surprised as to why. I bet that's probably shorted through. And I can, do you know what? The more I look at this now, the more I zoom this out quickly, the more I look at this, the more it's starting to make sense. So I think they've changed over the lamp. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I think they've taken this in for repair because the lamp has obviously become damaged because of this. They obviously haven't secured the lamp properly. Someone's changed the lamp at some point. The rubber gasket's obviously been come unsealed from the unit. It's a very simple fix to do. That's come loose. And obviously that's now popped the power. They've changed over the 2 transistors. Haven't bothered changing the Zener diode for it. Maybe they haven't even looked at this. Maybe they just brought it in for the repair of that part. So this is the thing, you can't be too harsh with this. For all we know, they haven't checked any of this. Maybe this was done by the customer. Not my customer, because he wouldn't have done this, but the customer before my customer. Does that make sense? So either the shop knew about it but hasn't done anything about it, or they've done this, which either way is unacceptable. But you never know what you're going to find with this sort of thing. And the screw's missing here as well. There's also a screw completely missing here, holding on the lamp assembly. With that one screw removed now, you can see that the lamp has been out at some point in its life because the harness tape was loose. We've now got insulation tape holding around the wire for the main power feed cable. Positive and negative, negative here, positive here. And you can see now what I was trying to explain to you. So when you pop this up without that rubber there, all that's going to happen, you see you've got the intersection here with the spring. That pops up. Without that rubber gasket there, it eats into the cable. Then eventually, that happens. That's really bad. That's obviously going to be stripped down, rebuilt from scratch. We're going to clean up this. Get that back on there as it should be. That's that out the way, so we ain't got to worry about that for the minute, but that's something else that I know I've got to sort. The surround for the pop-up, you know if you can make that out on the camera, but you probably can. You can see it, I can see it through the phone. That's very loose. That has to be able the adhesive removed and re-adhesive back into place. So it's a good excuse to remove the adhesive, pop the surround out, clean everything up, clean around the surround, and then re-adhesive back into place. Let's look at the pitch next, because this is a bit interesting. I don't know if you can see this here on the camera either, but the grounding wire that goes from the arm to the pitch, you could just about make that out. It's bent at the worst angle there. It's pointing inwards towards the pitch control. That should be pointing towards me, with the section here that's screwed down bent downwards, really. Again, this is me being OCD, but I prefer if things are going to be done for them to actually be done properly, because these ain't exactly cheap. You know, I mean, Technics 1210M3D is theoretically a Mark V, right? But these decks are all very similar to each other. Pretty much exactly the same in terms of boards and things, but if you're going to do it properly. That's one screw out. We'll do the other screw for the top of the pitch. Oh, my arm's probably in the way of the camera now, but here's what it is. And then we've got the two screws here that hold in the reset switch itself. Now, the M3D and the Mark V, I don't know if I've ever really explained this before on a video. I might have done. It's quite a few I've done over the years. But with the pitch control on these, they obviously don't have a lock at the 0 position. So the idea with the M3D and the Mark V is there's no brake on the board for the lock position. We'll get rid of all this after as well. So there's no physical lock. So what happens is you have to move the pitch basically to your 0 position. Then you set the potentiometer to its desired value. So being a M3D or a Mark V slider, they're exactly the same as each other. They both share the same unit. You set that usually to like 2.875 or 2.9. They all vary. You can't go by the service manual with everything. People do that all the time with the Mark IIs and wonder why things don't line up. The service manual for the Mark II was never updated. Okay, you have to use the settings from the M3D and Mark V service manual. But with the aftermarket sliders, you can't really go by that. You can start with the values from the service manual, and if they match up, fantastic. But normally you have to go against the service manual with this. But yeah, you basically, if you're using a genuine unit, you match it up here to the 0 position. That's why there's a dot basically there. But you do it manually by removing everything. And you have where the ball bearing and spring normally would be. You can see there's a window there behind the LED. There'd normally be a spring there with a ball bearing, which would make the physical indent click, because that's what the indent is there. So you lock it up to its 0 position, set this value to, theoretically, what the service manual would tell you to set it to for this particular VR302 pot, and then set the frequency on the board to its 0 position on there as well. That's really important. If you do not set that with a frequency counter, then nothing's going to line up properly. You'll find that your 0 is either higher or lower, depending on the position of where you have the pot for the pitch on the board. That's the situation with this. So it's really important with this. But what you've also got here, if you look carefully on the board, if you're never seen one of these before, so you've got your LED, your potentiometer, the pitch slider unit itself underneath its bracket. The bracket here has the holes at the top that secure it onto the plinth, as you can see. And then you've got your reset switch that sets it back to 0, because there's no break, there's no switch, no lock on the board, okay? But what you've also got here is, if you look at your brown, red, orange and yellow, you have 2 points here, brown and brown. The top says brown for limited. Well, in reality, the brown for limited is brown for switch. The limited decks, the gold versions, they all use the same variation here. So you pop that there so that when you push the button, it turns the switch. If you don't do that, it still works, right? But either way, that's what you're meant to have with the configuration for the wiring. So yellow, orange, red, you miss one, and you use brown for limited, okay? That's the M3D Mark V slider. So exactly the same. This is all original. Nothing's been touched here. All the wiring is all original. All the solder points are original. LEDs all original. And I'll probably hedge my bets to say the pitch is original because none of that's been touched. So we'll move that out the way so we know we're okay with that. Just get the wiring harness tape, push that through. There we go. Remove that. Use the screwdriver for this. Got to be very careful. If you over tighten these, you are in Poop City. There's 3 screws that hold down the tone arm. So there's the first one, second one. Come on, Jay. And the third one. There we go. And what you want to carefully do, that's why this is made out of foam, doesn't damage anything. Put your hand underneath, don't let it just drop down. Out the way it goes. There's your arm assembly. you could probably just about hear if you're careful. I'll move it closer. Can you hear that looseness? So the bearings do need to be looked at. It could be the pivots just need adjusting, but it could also be that the bearings are damaged. Arm assembly looks okay. It's got a few little marks and things on. It's going to clean up nicely though. Right, okay, let's get this out of the way now. And this just leaves us with this beauty over here. So I don't know how well this is going to work in removing this without breaking anything. I suppose you can't really get it any worse than it is now, can you? Because it is already broken. But let's see if we can get this tie at least a little bit looser. Right, that's a little bit better. Now I can move that round. Do with some terminal pins, really. I might order some tonight. That's that cable tie out of the way. Now what we can do is remove the switch. Let's zoom this in again so you can actually all see it a little bit clearer, shall we? How's that, guys? So we'll remove the switch now. The plastic cover. And then we'll lift that out of the way. Then you got 1, 2, 3 and 4 screws that hold the operation base into the plinth. And obviously this corner here, as you can see here, the thread is completely smashed to bits. It's almost like something's obviously fallen on this over the arm assembly at some point in its life. Let's see if we can take this out all in one without it falling apart. I don't think it makes any bloody difference. The thing needs to be replaced. This is going to be a bit of a pain. I may have some operation bases here. I'm hoping I do. See, there we go. So that's already broken. So that wasn't even being held on. That was literally just the plastic. It's like it's been glued there. It has been glued there. It didn't last very long, did it? Oh, I could really do with getting a photo of that. I'll be taking a still of that, I think, from the video. That's incredible, that. So we've got one, that's that. Can we lift all this out? Please let this lift out. I'd love to get this all out for a... Oh, that's been glued in. What in the hell has happened there? Let's get these screws out of the way. This is just getting better and better. It looks like they've actually glued the... Jesus, they've actually glued the tower. Yeah, you can see it. They've glued the tower down. You got to think you're really close to watching this. I'm not as far away as that. I'm getting closer to it now. Maybe if you try and agitate. I'm not going to lose any sleep over the tower because I have lots of towers sitting here. Genuine towers as well as aftermarket, but genuine I'll use on this. If it has damaged the tower, I'll just replace the tower, but that's come out separate. Of course it has, right, okay. And of course the LEDs are stuck down to it still. Oh, this is fantastic, this is great. Why can't people just do things properly? Oh, God. There we go. Great. So you can clearly all see now where it was broken. Well, that was pretty damn bad. It's all just disintegrated into a million bits. We've got the diffuser paper here as well. We'll keep that to one side because that's always handy. But that tower is in there. So a piece of plastic just sitting here doing nothing. So we've got that, this bit, that bit. Oh, and of course the cover that was spinning around. Let me just look at this under a lamp quickly. Yeah, I mean, that has been churned slightly, but it does look like it's actually intact. I could be wrong with this, but this is the beauty of having it broken. I suppose I can just pop that on. One-handed is not exactly ideal. Well, that's good news for my customers. So again, I had a feeling of this, so it's not the plastic cap's not actually damaged. As you can see here, it's nice and tight on the stem. So it was just the fact that where they put the paper clip on there at that bloody angle, that was the main root of the problem. I can salvage the buttons and things, that's fine. I've got spares here anyway, just in case. Right, I'm going to keep all of this to one side, because my customer's going to love this. As for the switch, we'll look at that in a minute. Let's just zoom this camera out again. And then move this back where it was, move the lamp out the way. Maybe a little bit further. Sorry for the shaky camera, guys. This camera mount at the moment is just, it's stuck on the top of my workbench. I'm looking down at the camera while I'm doing this so we can get a better view. And I know that I'm not moving things out of focus, out of view. Right, next step, but this is going to be plastic cap. Not plastic cap, what am I on about? Is to clean off all of the old grease that's on these threads here. I mean, shading cloth and things, this is all going to be removed after the event, after the video. My main emphasis at the moment is to obviously remove everything, strip everything down off of this. The spindle, I can probably bet money on, has never been oiled. It all feels okay, but it doesn't feel like it's not actually had any treatment at some point. Actually, do you know what we'll do? Let's get this out of the way first. So I'm going to clean this off after. Because now what I want to do is see the state of the board. That's the original thermal paste. That hasn't been touched. Oh, give me a second. Let me go and grab a cloth. Hang on. Okay, so instead of messing around, watching me clean things up there, I thought, pause the video. I was going to get a cloth. This gets a bit messy sometimes. So I've just cleaned off all of the thermal paste loosely off of where the regulator sits. That's all been done, including the back of this as well. Remove the screws for the motor assembly and the 3 for the main board. Next thing's going to be remove the 2 here. As you can see here for the fuse board. Then we've got 3 screws. One of them's physically removable, and the other 2 stay in place with the transformer. The way to do this, put your screw in, loosen the first one, all the way out. He says, there we go, there's your first screw. And if we move the board with the spindle slightly out of the way there, it will sit flush if you're careful. And loosen both of these screws. Now the other one's over here, just around this other side, exactly the same place as the one just removed. If you're lucky, put this back into place. If you're lucky, this entire thing here will lift out. Sometimes I need a little bit of coaxing on them just to get them to move. But now I'll move it at an angle here. We've got the switch here. Poke that through. You can see it a lot better at this angle here, that it's physically been bent at an angle to make it work. I'm probably more than likely to be replacing that as well. But either way, push down on the spindle lightly, pull up, and there's your board. We'll get that to one side just for a second. Let's have a quick look at the spindle. That's all original. None of that's been touched. Don't think any grease has been on that in quite a while, to be honest. No graphite grease, no oil, no handle oil, no nothing at all. We'll get that out of the way. That's going to be stripped, cleaned, and all the goodies done to that. And now we're left with the plinth. That's your bare plinth. And what I'd normally do with this is remove the trim, and obviously remove the surround like I stated, including all of the harness tape that's existing on there. Next thing I'm going to look at quickly is the board and see if there's any, well, see what the points of the board are. If there's anything there that sort of stands out. Just give me a second. Okay, that's everything moved out the way, just so we can make a bit of space. Got some light there, so that's a good start. As you can see here, we've got the main board, the fuse board, transformer. So we're going to turn the main board over, and we'll look together and see if anything here jumps out with the lamp across it like this. Let's zoom in just a bit and move this into focus. Just give me just a second. Maybe out a tad. I'm going to try and stand at an angle here so you don't see my head just randomly appear in this video. I'm hoping. Well, how far can I get? Yeah, it might be all right. Right, so Q2, this is the one which has obviously been replaced with that larger transistor you've all seen here. I was dubious about C3, but that doesn't appear to have been changed. In fact, apart from reflowing the solder here once they popped the new unit in place for Q2, none of this appears to have been reflowed at all. This is all the original factory solder. Q201 especially, this is notorious for cracking on just about every turntable I tend to have in here. Giving out a bit of movement now. There is slight movement there, but nothing too extravagant. I don't think that would really cause you a problem. But either way, we're going to have to reflow this. So reflow, remove the solder, pop fresh solder on there. This is all dry, that's all that. There's nothing that really stands out. The solder points on a lot of parts here have got a bit milky. Could definitely do with a reflow. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Everything on this is going to be reflowed and then cleaned. Because this board is a little bit on the dirty side. But all in all, that's not as bad as I was expecting. Regulator has been out by the looks of things. This doesn't appear to be factory. This solder here, in fact, it has been, because this solder here matches what we've got here in terms of shininess. This is leaded solder. So maybe they did replace over the regulator. So it begs the question as to why they didn't replace the other transistor here. I would have replaced Q3, D3, the other Zener diode, and D301. While you're at it, change over R307 for the upgraded resistor as well. But not everyone thinks like that. Not everyone wants to do it. If you're paying to have a repair done, I suppose some of these guys will do the bare minimum just to get something out the door, get it done in quick time. That's the first turntable. Do you know what? Shall we get the second one on the bench? Have a look at that. We will do. Sorry, let's do it. Let me pause the camera. Right, so here's turntable number 2. So this is the other one from the pair. Again, we've got a slip mat on this one as well. Exactly the same as the first turntable. I've had a quick look underneath this before I just hit resume on the recording. It doesn't appear to have any stickers or anything here going around stopping you from getting in. So maybe there was only one repair completed on one turntable. So again, if I just, before I strip this down, we powered it into the wall. Let's see what we're playing with this one, shall we? No looseness on this particular on-off switch. This is just your usual. The tower feels loose. Ooh, that's a bit interesting. Hopefully that's nothing too nasty and it's not the same as the other turntable. So the LEDs are all working here. The pop-up isn't. What a surprise. The rubber around the assembly doesn't appear to be broken on this one here. I'm pretty good at telling with this. That's actually quite firm. It could start to be loose underneath, but we're not going to know that until we remove it. But the lamps in both of these turntables are non-existent. They don't work. Switches are working for 33 and 45. We've obviously got power. Reset switch is working. That's the only time the LED will obviously work on the pitch. And let's see what we're playing with the strobe. You might not pick this up properly on the camera, guys, because the platter on this isn't exactly the cleanest. So at the 0 position right now, I don't know if you can make this out or not, but the strobe dot for 0 is too fast. If I move this back now, so it's steady, we've got it, yeah, halfway between -1. So it needs a bit of adjustment. This is what I was saying about with the frequency counter. If you do not set the 0 position correctly, and also while at the 0 position, you don't set that correctly, your 0 position will be wrong. Speed it all the way up, you'll get lower, slow it down higher, it all varies, but either way, that's wrong. So 0 position is off. I'll be surprised if anything else lines up correctly now. So your plus 3.3 is at 2.5. Plus 6 is just after plus 5. Minus 3.3 should be quite high down here, I'd imagine. Yep, so we've got a static minus 3.3 at nearly 4.5. So that pitch is heavily worn, I'd imagine. Either that or really badly calibrated and needs a bloody good clean, but I'm going to replace all of this. I've already got the sliders here. The other thing I forgot to mention, which you might have noticed from the beginning of this turntable video, with this one here, the rubber's missing on the back of the weights. Both of them are missing. You can order replacements from these. You can get them from Frank over at Green Vinyl, I believe. I might have some here for my customer though, so let's get them out of the way. Do the same as we did with the previous turntable. If I remove the plastic cover and everything here is in situ as factory, then we won't bother doing the rest of the video because we can take it for read that this one hasn't been worked on. So there's the lever lock out the way. We'll now remove the lever lift, the arm lift. He says that's unscrewing, but it's not moving up. There we go. Little electronic screwdriver. These are fantastic to do this. That's all there. There's springs there for it. We'll lock the arm back down. Oh, do you know what? We will be looking at this, I think, because it's just sprung on me. If you look carefully, if you look at the arm, look at the numbers. That's right, you can't, because the numbers are all around here. The arm's all the way down. So now we might unwind this. This arm's been apart. Definitely been apart. Because when it's at 0 position, you can see how high the arm is. So, oh dear, someone's been inside this at some point. So we've got the original cables and things. But somebody's been inside this. Okay, let's remove the power. Put that back in shot so you can all see it. Platter off. No warranty stickers, no nothing. Spindle feels exactly the same as the other turntable. Let's get this out of the way. Let's remove the platter. So the 5 screws, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, one thing I am going to quickly check. I'm not going to go into the extent of dismantling the arm on this video. So I've got a feeling I know what to expect with this. But if the back locking plate isn't there, right, or the E-clip is missing with the little spacer, then what will happen is this arm will completely unscrew itself. Now, being a betting man with this, I'll be very surprised, because considering how far round this was, if they've actually put that back into place. Because this is not looking good. Look how far. Oh my God, I'm absolutely spot on. Look, just managed to unscrew the entire arm while it's in the turntable. That's not good. Right, give me a second to pause it. We'll put it back, screw it down some so I can switch the turntable upside down. There we go. Sorry about shaking the camera there. So I literally just had to do that by hand. It was one of those things that could take a month of Sundays to get right, or if you're very lucky, do it in one, which I actually managed to do. So the arm is now back down. But what you just saw there was, like I was explaining, is a back plate, a locking plate inside the arm, held on by 2 screws, an E-clip and a spacer. If the E-clip isn't there, or the actual spacer, it's the actual the plate isn't now. I think the plate's there because you can feel the lock is hitting the plate. So yes, the plate is there, but the E-clip isn't there. And what happens is with no E-clip in place and no spacer, the entire arm can be physically removed from the thread. Not good at all. So let's get this back into the shot. There we go. Get this plastic cover off. And we'll see what we're working with this turntable, shall we? So again, plastic cover here to cover over the transformer. This one, is this one loose? Now, do you know what? I've got so many of these sitting here. If this one remotely breaks, that one's okay. See, that's what should happen. They shouldn't break. If you get them at such an angle, they won't break. But if they do, it's good to have spares. I've probably got about 60 of these sitting in a box. This one's looking better. We've got the original fuse. The fuse looks a bit worse for wear on this. I'm definitely going to be changing that. I'll just change both of these for safety anyway. Transistors on this deck are identical, so they are original, which is a good start. The wiring locations for this, for the harness, for the pop-up lamp, even the wiring coming through here, this looks original. I mean, as in from the factory, untouched. Even the way the thermal paste here is with the regulator. This is how they come sometimes, guys, with them bent down. So this doesn't appear to have been touched. I'm happy with that because it means I can touch this now. There's not really any nasty surprises awaiting me from somebody else. So let's cut the power cable out like we did with the previous one. We're going to be repeating pretty much what we did with the last turntable. So if you've had enough, guys, you can always stop the video if you really don't want to see me waffle on about this turntable. But I'm hoping there's no nasty surprises within this turntable for my customer, because some of these bits are quite hard to find and they're also quite expensive. So that operation base that I showed you that has been, paper clipped together, and I might have one. I'm hoping I do. I've definitely got something better than what my customer has there, because if you've got a lug that's broken off, you can plastic weld them back on. That's fine. But we've gone beyond that now. You can't, I'm not going to be sitting there plastic welding half a dozen bits of tiny piece of 2mm plastic together to try and hope that something's going to stay in one piece. The other thing I've just remembered that I haven't shown you on there that you're probably wondering what I'm going to do is you're probably going, why have you not shown what you're doing with the strobe dot in the plinth on this video? We may, if I get a bit of time after doing this, I may have a quick look at it and see if we can knock it through, because I think the end result with that is going to be physically hammer that damn thing through the plinth, because it really looks misshapen anyway. And if that is the case, I have got, like I say, genuine M3D towers here, some nice used condition ones to help my customer out. We didn't remove the pitch knob of the felt, did we? Let's get that out of the way. Bin the old felt, pop the plastic cap there. See if we can remove these ties. The other one was being a little bit stubborn, wasn't it? Well, there looks like it's going to go. So we got one. I love it when this happens. This is great. Got one, two. Lovely stuff. There we go. Let's move it slightly so I can get a pair of snips in there without clipping anything. Excellent. Bin all them. Use the same pointer tool to carefully remove operation base switch, pop-up switch, sorry, pop-up harness even, and the operation base harness. Then we've got the pitch harness. There's always one that wants to be a bit stubborn. There we go. You've got to be very careful with these. I don't know how many times I say this to people whenever they strip these down, but the amount of these that I get in that are physically broken, it's crazy. Make sure they're carefully pushed out of the way. Brilliant. Quickly pause the camera, get this deck upside down. Excellent. So that's a turntable upside down. Same situation as before with the other turntable. So we'll get these feet off. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. While I'm doing all of this, let me just quickly, just before I do waffle on, just check. All the screws are in place on this one. Brilliant. Right, so while I'm doing this, let me just quickly go over a few bits. So if you don't know, I'm offering a raffle because we're in November now. I'm offering a raffle. That one's broken as well. Oh, this is not a good start. Oh dear. Yeah, offering a raffle as I do every year. Usually it's to win a single turntable. This year I've done something a little bit different. If you haven't seen my recently uploaded video on the channel, I'd recommend going to do so. You must have seen these really RP7s by now, the tiny 7-inch DJ turntable, specifically made for playing 7-inch records. Well, I bought one to do a bit of custom work and bits on, and long and the short of it, guys, I decided against it. It's just, in my honest opinion, I don't think it's really worth the money for what it actually is. I was going to wrap it and do different bits and customize it and see what I could do. It's just a lot of plastic. And to be fair, I haven't got the time at the moment to really be messing around with something like that. I'd love to, but I really can't. I don't know why I do it. You know when you get these impulse buys where you go, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'll do that, definitely do it. I bought it when it came out, lucky enough to get one. They were sold out everywhere, got one here. And I haven't even powered it on to try it. In fact, actually try the pitch, try everything out. But it's just an RP2000 motor in a smaller turntable that's double the price and 50 quid, 60 quid difference on a RP7000 Mark II. So no disrespect to Reloop, they do some good bits. It's all super OEM at the end of the day anyway, but I just not that massively impressed. The idea is great, it looks great, but that's as far as that really goes. But yeah, I'm raffling that off. So before I go any further with this, I'm basically raffling it off. Tickets are £2 each. Like I do every year, the raffle is ending on Christmas Eve. If you go onto my channel and look at the previous videos, there should be the latest video on there, will be the raffle video. It's called Reloop Raffle. So check that out. If you're within the UK, you can enter. Unfortunately, it is going to be UK only. But UK delivery by courier is free of charge. If you are local to myself in Colchester in Essex, I haven't got it on there as collection, but if you are local to me, if you are lucky enough to win the turntable, you are more than welcome to come and collect it in person from me in my workshop. But yeah, go and check that out, guys. The link is in the description of the previous video. So type in, have a look on the channel for the Reloop raffle. Right, back to what we're doing here. So, same as before, we're going to cut the power cable off of this one. Oh, sorry, audio cable. This is what happens when I start waffling about other things. Because as you know with me, all of my videos, they're all off the cuff. Nothing is scripted. There's no set way that I'm going to be doing these. Obviously, there's set ways that I strip these down, but we never really know, there's the cable, what way these videos are going to go. Same as before with this, we're going to just tighten these screws up. For peace of mind, knowing they're not loose. Remove the outer screws here to secure down the weighted section of the base. I've already spotted a piece of plastic that's worrying me. That if you can make this out here, I'm hoping that's not from the operation base. And I mean, of course it will be. It's a turntable brought to me for repair. It's going to be something, isn't it? It's going to be something to do with that bloody operation base. You watch. I bet we end up needing 2 operation bases. This is going to be fun. Right, this isn't going to come off in one go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, okay, let's see. Give it a little tap. There we go. Got some movement here. Oh, I did want to go, didn't it? Brilliant. Right, okay, that's that out of the way. Same thing as before, we're going to remove the head shell socket. 1 screw, 1 bit of plastic, out the way and done. We'll get the pitch control out the way here as well, which has got the wrong screw installed and a spacer. Well, I wonder what spacer this is from. That is the spacer, I bet, that is missing on the tone arm. So we're going to leave this to one side. And this screw looks to be the screw that actually holds the plate down on the tone arm. So we will be looking at this tone arm after all. And that wire is completely wrong on that. Okay, so in the wrong position. That's the original screw. Okay, so... at least with this one, the lamp doesn't look too bad on this one here. The lamp is all original. That is definitely original because the harness tape is all in position, and the way the wiring is on this, let's use my little scalpel scraper tool just to push that out the way. There we go. We'll clean all that up after. Get this lamp out and just see what we're working with this. Come on, you bugger. Oh, for God's sake. It's always something, guys. Like I say, this is why you move the cables around in a set way, but it's just It got caught on the operation base cable. Lovely, right. Okay. Yeah, that one's absolutely fine. So if you look at these carefully, if I grab the rubber from the other turntable, so I've still got it here. This is the newer style. It's a lot thicker and it pushes all the way up to the top plate for the assembly, whereas the old style simply just glues in, and then the more you push it up and down, it gets hit, and then the adhesive starts to weaken and cause the problem that you saw within the other turntable. So it is definitely becoming more apparent that this is the reason why the turntable probably had problems. This broke, shortened the wire, and caused a bit of drama. But I'd like to know why they left it like that. That's not good, because obviously it had been repaired. This is the thing. It had been repaired. So they had to have checked it to have seen it. So I don't understand why people leave things like that. That's the 2 screws for the pitch removed. We'll then remove the 2 for the reset switch. The pitch control appears to be original as well. There's no solder that's been replaced or reflowed or... Yeah, usually what happens is they tend to put too much heat on this and then burn the pads. This is all original. There's no burn or anything there, no scrape marks, no scratch marks. Good, so that's an original pitch. I can go out the way too. Lovely, that's that one. Before I do anything, do you know what? We will look in the bottom of this. I'm going to screw this back on once we've done this, but I just want to see, for my own sanity, which I'm probably guessing there's going to be a few people wondering what's going on inside this as well. So we've got a screw and a spacer, which appear to be from the arm assembly. We'll put them there because I'm going to screw this back together. And I want to see if they actually have used them, if there's anything missing there, or if they've got the wrong screws in that, the pitch control screw, for an example. At least we're not missing the audio cable clamp. But yeah, we know the E-clip's missing. Let's just have a quick look. Yes, that's all original. Look, none of this has been touched. This is all factory. And shockingly, the screws aren't missing. But the screw we've got there, that is definitely the screw that is used in here. Now I'm looking just down the side of this while we've got this on the angle, and the screw that holds in the innards for the anti-skate system, that seems to be correct, including the top screw. Ah, what an idiot, Jay. You just spotted it off the bat. We've got a screw here. I don't know if you can see it if I zoom in. You might just be able to make this out. The screw on here, I was absolutely spot on about using another screw from somewhere else. That's your pitch control screw. So while we're actually in there, let's just switch this over. So someone has been in this arm, like I stated before. That is the screw that's meant to go there. Gotta laugh, haven't you? So let's get that out of the way. We'll pop that screw now in place, so we know the correct screw is now securing that board. The E-clip is missing. You can see that here. And the spacer, just to show everybody, I mean, this isn't exactly very good. The spacer looks like it's been crumpled at some point, but that spacer actually sits over there, over the lock. And then the E-clip sits in between it. So if you imagine you've got no E-clip there, as you saw when you unwind this and unwind the actual height adjuster, the entire arm drops down, or in this case, yeah, in this case it drops down, so we're upside down. It drops down and there's no E-clip to stop it from physically falling out of the deck. So the other way around just lifts up, as you all saw. So we'll keep this to one side. I'll try and straighten this out. In fact, no, we'll just replace the bloody thing. I'm not even going to mess around with that. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's put this back together. We'll leave I'll put the screws back on, because this will actually help it sit a bit more flush. But just put it back exactly as it was, minus the plastic cover, the audio cable clamp. Then we'll just zoom the camera out in a second so you can all see what I'm doing. Boop, there we go. Do you know what? I've had a Google Pixel, is it 9 Pro XL, the bigger one, the latest one they did before the 10 model that's out now. And do you know what? I mean, I used to rave all the time about my S21 Ultra. That's still, in my honest opinion, one of the best phone cameras for video and audio. But over the year of me using this Google Pixel, I'm actually really impressed with it. The camera quality is just superb, and the phone works really well. It had a bit of a whoopsie, we'll call it, when I first got this phone, because I run my business number off of an eSIM, and then my physical SIM that's in the phone is my personal number. So both the numbers go through to the phone. I'd usually flitter between this phone, or when I'm not, when I'm not in the office, or not in the office, I'm not in the workshop, I'll just literally just deactivate the SIM or put it on do not disturb, so no calls come through, which is great. From existing customers, obviously, because my number's not online. But it used to have a bit of a problem where calls wouldn't actually come through until I unlocked the phone. It'd tell me I've missed calls, and I'd have customers waiting outside for me that I'd be none the wiser for, because I wouldn't know they're there until I've unlocked the phone. Right, now one thing I have spotted on this, just so I'm waffling on again, the screw, there we go, that did not want to turn. That did not want to turn. I wonder if that's partially churned at the top, because that did not want to turn at all. This is the right size screwdriver piece as well. I'd be pretty concerned by now if I was using the wrong bloody screwdriver parts, to be honest, considering how many years I've been doing this. But yeah, the Google Pixel, I can't really rate it high enough. It is a really, really nice phone to use. Yeah, I'm really impressed with it. So there's the arm assembly out. We have got some looseness in the arm. Again, I'll be checking this over at some other point, and the back of the wand is bent. Now, if your this is another point actually, while we've got you here with this, if your turntable has a bent wand at the back, or the back is bent when you've got the weight on, take it off and have a good look and make sure that this area here, the central collar basically, isn't damaged. Now, it was up until a recent point, this point here, if this was broken, you were either 3D printing this, like I used to do, or you were buying a replacement arm assembly. It was actually a bit of a game over part if you didn't have the spares. These are extremely cheap to buy online now. You can get these from places like Deckheads on eBay. You can get them from my good friend Sam over at Pimp My Decks. He's got these in different colours, in black as well. So if you want something that's like a Mark 7 assembly, you can get black collars, black tubes. Brilliant. But yeah, they're not very expensive. These used to be a game over part, whereas now they're really not. But the reason this is bent here, obviously it's had some force at some point, but it's actually a rubber gasket that sits inside this central part. And all you got to do is just remove the gasket. You've got to strip the entire arm down. The wand here, as they call it, unscrews from the inside of the arm. The long screw holds this together. You remove the screw, take the wand out, and you simply just turn the gasket round the other way. So you turn it a full 2 turns basically and screw it back in. And instead of facing downwards, it will face upwards. So you may find it pivots upwards slightly. You can manipulate it back down. But also what you need to be careful of is, I don't know if you can make this out on the camera, there's a machine line that goes all the way across here and across the central section too. If you don't have that lined up, when you look at your arm dead on, when it's actually back in the turntable, where the line here would be central on top, you'll find that if it's not done up correctly, it'll either be at a kink at one angle or the other angle. So in other words, when you set your weight, the number will be off. But that's the arm out, and that's a bit of info there on that for you. It could be quite helpful. I'm hoping it is, but that's that. So that's that one there. Let's get this operation base out. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what this is, but I'm not at the same time. So that bit of plastic, we might be lucky here. I'm hoping we're lucky. Although I think we've got a crack on it. This isn't going to be good, is it? Hang on. I don't think we're going to be good with this, guys. I think we've got a crack. But these 2 pieces of plastic that I just found floating around, these are actually from the operation base area here. And as you can see, that's been absolutely destroyed. That's been over tight and snapped off. Really bad design on part of Panasonic. I don't understand why they thought it'd be a clever idea to have it in plastic. I suppose at the time it was a good idea for them. But let's, right, okay. Let's remove the cable tie for this now. There we go, let's loosen that slightly. Cut the tie off, lovely stuff. They get tied in really tight, these, because you can see all the way through just how tight these cable ties are. Now, remove the screw that obviously screws this switch down to the base. Now that was very tight. Oh, you got to be so careful. That's another thing. If that breaks, you really are in shit city, to be quite blunt. Switch cover, screw, then the 4 screws. Now, wish me luck with this. I'm hoping we're okay, but I'm pretty confident here. I don't know if you can see it here. Look, you might just about see that. I think we've got a crack. I'm hoping it's nothing major, because if it isn't anything major, I can repair that. If it is, well, that's a different conversation me and my customer need to have, unfortunately. So there's the 3rd screw, then we've got the 4th one up here that you can't see on the camera because I've zoomed it all the way out. Now, in an ideal world, I'll simply remove this switch, pull this up, tiniest amount of pressure, and lift this up with no problems, which it has. But as you can see, we've got a crack. Oh no. Oh, now he might be lucky with this. That's a clean break. Now, he might be lucky because I can either epoxy that back in or plastic weld that. I'd need to do it from the inner side, remove everything down, which I'd need to do to clean it anyway. I'll judge that when I strip it, but that's not as bad. I know that most of you have been watching that thinking, Jay, it's broken, but you know, if you can salvage and repair something and make a good job of it, and it saves your customer a few quid, and you're upfront and honest about it, there is nothing wrong with that. If you're trying to fix things with paper clips, then you've got a problem. Epoxy resin and plastic welds, as long as it's done neatly, tidily, it doesn't affect any of the movement, and it's not going to come loose, and you're upfront with the customer, in my book, that's a good thing. Saves you a few quid with the operation base too. So that's great. Just great, Jay. And there, of course, as well, you probably can't see that in shot. There's the other lug that's broken off. So again, I've got another lug that's broken, which again, I can pass plastic weld this on if needs be, depending on how well this goes. The surround, again, with this one, that one's not that bad. There's no looseness, that's nice and tight. So let's just get my cloth again. We'll clean up all the grease. We'll put the camera out. Get the lamp out the way. Move this where it was. Clean up all of the grease. Another piece of plastic there. This is getting worse and worse and worse. Anybody that's watching this that is contemplating having a go at doing something like this themselves, please be extremely careful. If you do not know what you're doing, leave it to somebody that does. And I can't be be upfront, more honest about that. You can cause yourself some absolute dramas. I mean, look at the operation base that you saw a second ago. That was really, really bad, guys. The one with the paper clip, this one's just as bad. And unless you want to just buy a replacement and pop it in, it's still going to cost you a fair bit. Probably end up buying an entire switch kit with the buttons all intact. Probably going to cost you 50, 60 quid at a push. This is M3D. This is the same as a Mark V. This isn't cheap. These parts to buy whole are not cheap. If you can buy them individually, then fantastic. And I'll do the same as I did before. Let me quickly just pause this, get my cloth, clean up the thermal paste. Be right back, 2 seconds. Right, so that's as you can see, the thermal paste has now been removed. Bracket's been removed. Regulator thermal paste has all been removed as well. It's just one of those jobs that I don't want to start getting thermal paste everywhere. It can either go really smoothly or it's extremely messy. And it means I have to change my gloves. And then when you change your gloves have been on for ages, your hands get all sticky and your gloves don't go on. So I just want to preempt that might have been the case. So I paused the camera, and in reality, it took me all of 2 minutes to remove it. So you didn't really miss much. So now we're just taking off the 3 screws now that hold on the motor assembly, and the 3 screws around the sides for the hold on the main board to the plinth. These are usually always very easy to take apart. Lovely. Then the 2 screws now for the fuse board. The fuses on this one here, like I say, are original by the looks of things. That one there looks a bit worse for wear, the T250, which is going to be removed. I'll just remove the fuses on both of them. Both turntables going to have 4 new fuses. Then we're going to remove the screw that holds down, the removable screw that holds down the transformer. Get that out of the way. And the 2 remaining screws now to hold the transformer down. And that's basically that. Quick observation of the board. Probably won't be anything to show you on that, to be fair, though, because this board doesn't appear to have been touched. This is what I meant about them being a bit more harder to get out. Some of them need a bit of coaxing. So the best way to do it, if you've got a flat screwdriver, just gently push around the rubber. Because the rubber just gets stuck where it's been sitting in the same position for years, like so. Do it very gently, because if you do it too hard, what will end up happening is the rubber insert that you're trying to loosen slightly will actually be removed. You can remove it completely from the transformer where it goes underneath the screw. They're a bit of a pig to get back in. Well, there's the board. It all came out quite easily. I mean, just a general quick look without zooming in on this. That's actually, as you probably all imagine, you can see it on the camera. That's quite clean. Just a shame that they didn't want to keep the other one as clean, because they're both a matching pair when bought. Yeah, that's a good start. Again, solder points are all factory on there. I'm going to reflow all the solder. We'll mimic exactly what we're doing with the other turntable onto this one, apart from obviously Q2 and Q3, because it might not be needed, but when I do my test, we'll be able to judge it. The spindle, yeah, the spindle's got the original grease all caked around underneath it, so we know that's all there. Clean all that off for the time being, but that spindle, yeah, you can clearly see it. Look carefully there, you'll see it's not clean at all. It's all brown and gunky. That needs to be stripped and cleaned. And those are armours there. And then the remaining point's going to be get them off. The trims and everything will obviously be removed. I'm not going to do that on camera. There's absolutely no point. It's not exactly the hardest thing to do. But what I want to do now is that's basically that. I can remove all of the harness tape and all the rest of the other bits on Monday, because I'm going to be out of it soon. Let me quickly grab another work pad. Get this plinth back on here from the other turntable. I want to see now, because this has been glued into place. It has definitely been glued into place. Now, more than likely going to end up replacing this, because that has been, in fact I am, because that has been churned. I don't know if you can make that out on the camera, but all around here in my thumb, as you see that little indent there. Yeah, do you know what? Let's just brute force it in the nicest possible way. We use the back end of a hammer. And yeah, back end of a hammer. What have I got that's flat? I can't say I've ever had to do this before. What else have we got here? Give me a second. Let me just wander around the workshop for a second, guys. Well, I did have a look around, but after a little bit of a gentle push and pull on the actual strobe, I have actually managed to loosen it. I thought, does it really need a hammer? I don't want to start hitting things and breaking them if I don't need to. I'm going to replace this for the customer anyway, but that's covered in glue. It's not the worst. I could always sand all the edges down, polish this back off, but that's just bad. Not great. At least it's the inner sections of the plinth that I'm more bothered about. We've got lots of dry glue there. That's all going to have to be some debonder. Now, debonder would be ideal, but unfortunately for me on this video, I actually destroyed a bottle of debonder all over my kneecap about 2 weeks ago. A complete bottle, I think it was like a 400ml bottle of debonder. So debonder, guys, you put it on over super glue and it debonds. Yeah, completely obliterated it all over me, all over my work trousers. So no bueno. But either way, there we go. There's 2 plimps next to each other there. Happy days. So we're going to leave it there, guys. But as you could all see from what I'd shown you over the last hour or so, I hope I haven't bored you all to tears. I'd like to think there's some interesting bits to show you, but I think this is probably one of the most random repairs I've seen in quite a while. And the ball bearing wasn't there, or the spring. Luckily for my customer, again, I've got plenty of spares, but this may be a problem, depending on if I have any. And to be fair, The same thing goes with the other one because that is also broken. Now, the thing is with these, depending on where they're broken, now this one, this side, as bad as this sounds, if this bit breaks, there is a fix around this if you actually haven't got that part. If you haven't got it and you can't plastic weld it back on or epoxy it, and plastic weld ideally, what you can do, because where this tends to snap off, it snaps off cleanly. You can flush this round so it's nice and clean. If you get yourself a washer and screw a washer in between this and screw it down to the plinth at the same time without the board attached, that will hold that corner down. This corner here, on the other hand, not so straightforward. You'd have to cut the washer down. So there are ways around this, but this in particular is going to be a problem because without that corner there, obviously nothing's stopping that cantilever from moving for a start because the point's missing from it. And two, it's going to be sitting at an angle. Because it's not there, it's going to look terrible. So, yep, that's pretty much destined for the bin. I have to report back with my customer and let him know what's going on. I think that's as far as we're going to take this video, guys. So look, thank you ever so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you that like and subscribe my videos. If this is your first time here, I would really appreciate it if you do like and subscribe. There are going to be lots of videos similar to this that pop up. And as with anything I do, if I'm taking these apart, you never really know what you're going to find. And in case of this turntable, a paper clip holding something together, you're not really going to get much more of a bodge than that, are you? So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all on the next video. And don't forget to check out the reloop raffle on one of my previous videos. Check it out on the channel. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Speak to you all very soon.